Hey, good morning, everyone. In one of my spring 2023 classes, I thought I'd put up a quick introductory video about who I am, kind of the expectations of the course, and a reminder about your ability to reach out and seek help or information through the course this semester without fear of um, limitations with regard to that. And I really want you to feel like you're in a very supportive environment academically and emotionally. And we have resources at the Mount to help you be successful. This is the spring semester, so some of you have already had me in the previous fall semester or have already had some acclimation to college life. But a few of you might be starting your very first semester at the Mount here in the spring 2023 semester, probably the first time with me, maybe, and you never saw one of these introductory videos, so I thought we'd at least introduce myself to you. One of the concerns I have, not only with the traditional brick and mortar class in person at the Mount, it's even more salient in a distance learning environment, is this sense of alienation. We don't really have a sense of community the way we'd really like to have one. And if you haven't met me or seen me or heard me speak, sometimes that can make it even much more difficult. So I try to make it more approachable and a feeling of connection by putting up this little introductory video. And some of you have seen this sort of little outline before from my previous classes, but I put a fresh one up every semester. So again, my name is Jim Corman. I live down in Brimfield, Massachusetts. I was living in Sturbridge until fairly recently. It's basically southern Worcester County. I've been teaching at the Mount for 20 years. I'm the department chair of legal studies, history, and political science. And I really love the job, and I really want you to be successful in your journey at the Mount and in the classes that we have together, and all your other classes as well too. I have 7 kids. 3 or 4 of which live with me at different periods of time, depending on how things are going in their own lives. And I have 2 dogs, Martha and Bailey. Martha's named after Martha's Vineyard, a place where I dream about living someday. I've taken many day trips there, but that's about it. Can't afford to live there or even stay overnight. But we all have aspirations, and so do you, and that's probably why you're in college. And my other dog's name, and she's a golden retriever. I have a golden doodle, I think it's called, and it's kind of still a wild puppy. And her name is Bailey, and she's named after George Bailey. As some of you might know, I have a small obsession with a movie called It's a Wonderful Life from the 1940s, and the main character in the movie is George Bailey, and so I named one of my dogs after the place where I want to live, and the other one's after sort of my fictional hero, George Bailey. And I live in a fairly rural community. It's about an hour away from the Mount, but I do drive up for classes. And people say, well, geez, why do you live so far away? I love the job. I always wanted to, I shouldn't say always, since I was an adult, wanted to teach at a community college. And that kind of segues into what I really want to talk to you about is knowing what it's like to be a community college student. I was a community college student. I graduated from Springfield Technical Community College. I grew up literally maybe 2 or 3 miles from the Springfield Technical Community College campus, but my high school nearly abutted the campus. We used to nickname it the high school on the hill because we used to walk up from our high school because we had no athletic fields. It was an inner city school. We used to walk up to Springfield Technical Community College's quadrangle, their open area, their fields to do some of our physical education activity when the weather permitted. And we used to literally walk up from our high school up to the campus of Springfield Technical Community College to do that. I ended up going there for 4 years. And this is the main thrust of my introduction. Is that my first year was an absolute and utter failure. When I was leaving high school, I thought I'd be a plumber. My father was a plumber. My grandfather was a plumber. And I thought I would go into the plumbing industry as well. And I used to help my father from time to time in little side jobs that he would do. And I had some interest in it. I thought it would be an enjoyable career. But in order to get into the apprenticeship program, it was a competitive process, and they would only take on so many new apprentices each year. And I was only 17 the first year that eligibility came up, meaning I was out of high school. I graduated early, not because I was bright or anything like that. It's just the way my birthday fell. I graduated at 17, and you couldn't get into the plumber's apprenticeship program till 18. Not that that's material. So during that break in that period of time where I might be eligible to get into the apprenticeship program, uh, in my age gap, my father said, why don't you go over to Springfield Technical Community College, take some few classes, it never hurts. And so I literally enrolled the day before classes started, had no idea what I wanted to study or what would be beneficial, made my own schedule, put all my classes just on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 5 of them back to back to back. I was there all day just being fed significant information, trying to absorb it, and then having long breaks between Thursday and obviously the next class sections on Tuesday, and tending to procrastinate a bit on homework in between and assignments and independent learning between those class sessions. And I didn't feel like I really belonged there. I didn't feel like I was college material. I felt a bit alienated. The classes didn't seem to make much sense to what I was going to do as a career as a plumber. So I felt kind of disconnected, to be quite honest with you, during the process. But I was doing okay. I was, maintaining my own. I felt sometimes a little lost in some of the classes because I didn't understand what the expectations are from the professors, and I didn't have the courage or the wherewithal to have the initiative to ask questions, to want some insight on to where am I going with this and how do I approach a project or an assignment or maybe even a section of an exam that maybe I didn't do so well on. So I wasn't feeling great about my experience. And then come about, I don't know, a little way past the halfway point in the semester, papers were starting to get due, and I got the flu. And this is before we had electronic emails. Everything was snail mail, traditional post office mail. And I got deathly ill and with the flu, and I missed the full week. I missed my Tuesday and Thursday of that week, and I felt very, very intimidated from falling behind and kind of not knowing what was going on and knowing papers were due and not knowing really how to write a well-crafted paper or an organization of a paper or how to do appropriate citations. Well, that's what you're there for, to learn how to do those things, but I didn't think of it that way. And I remember getting in the mail just before I went back to school that following Tuesday, feeling very, very anxious about going back, and getting in the mail this notice from Springfield Technical Community College that the last day to withdraw from classes without getting a grade would be a certain date, and to remind us to enroll in the spring semester classes. So what did I do Monday morning? Knowing that was that either that day or the next day was the last day to withdraw from classes with a grade, I drove down in my old Galaxie 500 that was filled with rust, and it was about a mile long. It was a huge whale of a car, and I remember pulling into campus and it was smoking because I probably had a blown head gasket because I always had crappy cars when I was a kid. It wasn't my car, it was my dad's car. And I went in there and I went into the administrative building and I withdrew from all my classes, and I felt great for about a day. And I withdrew from everything. And I have my transcript somewhere up here on top of my desk. And boy, did I feel pretty good. The monkey's off the back. I was at a place I didn't belong. I wasn't college material. And I didn't really feel like I was smart enough to go to college. And it felt good for a couple of days. But the Thanksgiving break was coming around. And some of my friends who went off to college were home. And you start seeing relatives and stuff to them. What's the first question any of them always ask you? How's college going? And I remember it was at Thanksgiving dinner, and some of the relatives stopped by. I don't know, for Thanksgiving or just like the after hours of Thanksgiving, say hello. And everyone's asking me about it. I'm like, hey, it's going pretty well. I just fluffed it off and didn't get too far in depth. My father sent something right away. So after everyone was gone, he asked me, hey, what's going on with school? And I told him I withdrew. I said, I want to be a plumber. The school's not for me. And I don't like it. And he was supportive, but at the same time, I sensed a bit of concern and disappointment, and then I had quit school. And of course, on my friends, I don't know if the tradition's still around to this day, but back in that era, Thanksgiving weekend was time to get together with all your friends that went away to school or did different things, and the questions kept coming in. What's going on? And a few of the friends that are very close, I told them the truth. I quit. It's not for me. School sucks. They don't know what they're doing. It's community college. All the things that we find as justification for what we did, I definitely, used it. And boy, did I feel dirtier and dirtier and dirtier and more guilt-ridden that I had done that. I wasn't working at the time, didn't even have a part-time job or anything like that, so I kind of sulked around for a good month or so. And then I can remember thinking maybe I had made a mistake. Maybe I should have stuck it through. My grades were probably going to be too bad. They're probably going to be decent in the end, but nonetheless, it was a failure. And then I got that flyer in the mail for these mini semesters. We have them at the Mount too. I think they're the 7.5 week accelerated type courses where you meet during more intense times to fit in a 3 credit course during a 7 or 7.5 week enrollment period. And so I saw a night class, English Composition 1, and I wanted to be a better writer. That was one of the ones that gave me the most anxiety. So I just got up that gumption and went down there and signed up for that class about a week before it started, and had an excellent yet brutal professor. I wish I could remember her name. I probably should look it up. She's probably long since passed. Um, but she taught me how to write, and she taught me well, and I felt very supported by her. But it was just the one class. That's all I felt I could do, and I felt very much filled with anxiety and fear of failure while I was in it. And I sucked it up and went to every class. And when it was over, and I got a decent grade, I don't know what it was, like a B or something like that. And it was decent knowing how tough she was. And I felt gratified by having, a midline grade like that, because I felt I really had learned a lot, and I finished the class. And that summer she was teaching English Comp 2, and I took her again, and I did even better. And she actually wrote me a letter of recommendation later on when I transferred to a four-year college. But nonetheless, all of a sudden I got this sort of sense of, maybe I can do it, maybe I can stick it out. And it was always a tough road for me. I always felt at times I didn't belong, whether it was at the community college or the universities I went to. And sometimes I felt like I didn't understand material, and I wasn't going to understand material, and I wasn't smart enough. But the one thing I learned from my failure is, if you do sometimes reach out and ask for explanation or help, or if you get sick, or if you have family issues and you reach out to your professor and need an extension, you're likely to get it. And I want you to know I'm trying to make every effort to be supportive of you. So don't ever be afraid to reach out and say, I'm having trouble navigating it. I don't know where to find the assignment. I don't know how to submit the assignment. I don't know what you want in this paper. I want you to feel that there's no such thing as a dumb question. I really believe that. Ask away. I'm here to help you through that process. I want you to get to the finish line. And if during the course of the semester you feel like college isn't for you because maybe some kind of career came up that doesn't require college experience or credentials, you can finish out the semester, though. Get the semester completed. Get the credits. You're probably going to do better than you think you were going to do. And don't be afraid to ever ask for help. Not just from me, but from the college as a whole. There's a lot of academic services, emotional services, even financial references to different, everything from food bank to emergency funding available and social services. We want to help you succeed. And I think that's pretty much universally true at the moment. So from that failure at Springfield Technical Community College, I'm spending 4 years there because, well, the first year was a complete failure, but I learned how to, have a little bit of grit and, tenacity to kind of stick through it, even though I didn't think it was necessarily for me at different times. And I took a year of general studies after that because I didn't know what I wanted to major in. And then I've always had a passion. Like, if you see behind me, I have a bunch of political buttons. I always had a passion for politics and history and things of that nature. My grandfather collected political buttons, and then my father did, and I inherited all that kind of stuff. And so I took every history, political science class that they had in the general studies program. And then the next year I transferred into the criminal justice program. I never wanted to be a police officer. I didn't think I'd want to be a lawyer either. But I found that the CJ had a lot of classes related to the study of Supreme Court decisions, which had a historical and political, backdrop a little bit. And I graduated from there with high honors. We called it high honors back then. They have different titles for a GPA. So I did well, and I got my associate's degree in criminal justice at STIC, Springfield Technical Community College. Went on to Springfield College, and during half my time at Springfield College, I ended up transferring to UMass, which was a silly move. But I spent a semester at UMass, and I did well there. But I went back to Springfield College because I graduated earlier with my bachelor's degree. And so after 2 years between Springfield College and UMass, I got my bachelor's degree in history from Springfield College out in Springfield, Mass. So I was living at home. I'm one of the few people that liked it to live at home with their parents. I wouldn't mind doing it even to this day. If they were still, well, my mom's still alive, but people have to take care of her. She can no longer take care of me. But after Springfield College, I went to Western New England College, also in Springfield, also still living at home with my parents at the time because I grew up in Springfield, Mass. And I got my Juris Doctorate there after 3 years, and I passed the bar in the very first cycle when the bar exam was available, and I became a licensed attorney. and you get the Juris Doctorate, and I got my doctorate degree, and I became a lawyer. But after I left Springfield Technical College, I actually had the goal of coming back there to teach one day, and I thought having a Juris Doctorate might help me get a position in academia and at the college level, and at a community college specifically, because I thought it was such a wonderful bastion of opportunity for everyone, because it's open admissions. Anybody can make a start there. Anybody can get redemption there that maybe hasn't been so successful in academics in high school or other times. So that was sort of the backdrop. And I don't want to say I lost my dreams, but the reality is I came out with a lot of student loans, and I needed to practice law to make a living, and I wanted to learn about really practicing law, and that's how you do it, by going out and getting a job. So I was working for a period of time, a little over 10 years, and actually a judge asked a group of us if anybody wanted to teach a class up at Mount Wachusett Community College, because he had a colleague up there, also an attorney, who was now one of the deans at the college. And I said, yeah, I'd be interested in taking that. And I started off teaching part-time, a couple classes here and there, and then a full-time position opened up. And there I am. It's been 20 years since I started full-time at the Mount. And while at the Mount, knowing my passion for history, political science, and the rest, I wanted to get credentials, which a lot of you are here for that, right? You want some kind of credential. You want to be a teacher. You want to be, maybe you want to be a lawyer. Some of you might be pre-law. Maybe you want to be nurses or doctors, or who knows what you want to be, but you might want to have that associate's degree or a certificate acknowledging you have some educational background in a certain area. And it's all about credentialing. So I knew when I wanted to teach some classes in history, maybe not political science, I'm probably qualified with the Juris Doctorate, but I didn't want to be concerned about not being credentialed. So I went and got a master's degree in history from Worcester State, and I got that in 2018. And I focused on U.S. history, especially constitutional history, which some of you might be taking this semester. But that's just it about me in a nutshell. I just want you to know I'm just like a regular guy, and I'm not uniquely smart. And a lot of some are going to say, "Oh no, that's not true. You are smart." Not really. I worked hard at it because I wanted to do well, and I didn't want the embarrassment of failure that I felt stained with after quitting the first go around. Some of you may have already quit and are coming back, and so you know that experience. And there's another phenomenon there that I feel a little weird talking about, but I think it's the elephant in the room. It's kind of a lonely experience when you take classes online. You don't feel that sense of a community. But sometimes when you take classes in person, it can be a bit of a lonely experience. Your friends aren't necessarily there. You're not necessarily, there to make friends. So you feel a little bit alienated. You're not living on campus. It's a community college. You commute. You come and take classes. You leave, and sometimes you don't feel like you belong. And I know that feeling. And so you do belong, and you're part of the community, and the community college should be reflective of that with you. And you should invest yourself in it with every ounce of energy, meaning that if you're not doing well, if you don't understand what's going on, you reach out to your faculty members, or you reach out to the different support services we have. Some of my classes, you have to write a very modest paper, very low stakes in terms of grading, and I'm a pretty liberal grader. But there's an excellent writing center at the Mount, and they'll help you write a better paper. If I'm not good at teaching you how to write, you certainly can use your colleagues in the tutoring center. Some of them are professional tutors and have a great deal of skill, more than I do, in instructing and writing. So don't be afraid to use all the different resources. That's the basic spiel. I still practice law. I don't know how much you want to know about me, but I'm almost in court every Friday. I'm in the court all summer long. I focus my practice now on criminal defense work. I don't know why. I never thought I'd be a criminal defense attorney, but I just found the nature of the practice, the way cases begin and end, and the nature of the elements of how to practice law in that area, I feel an affinity to it, and so I tend to do that, and I do a lot of it, and I'm still active in the court. And we might have an opportunity this spring, if you're into it, to take a field trip to the John Adams Courthouse, which is the Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts law up in Boston. If you guys are game for going, whether you're an online student or in person, you're always welcome to go on to those field trips. And we sometimes go to Gardner. Judge Goldstein teaches at Mount Wachusett Community College part-time. He's the presiding judge at Gardner. And he loves to have students come over. And you don't need us to go, but we can all go together and grab lunch afterwards, or and talk about our experience and what we saw in the court proceedings if you like court. And there's other political functions too, and maybe even historical opportunities for a museum or things like that. So I think you learned enough about me, and hopefully that sense that you are in an environment of supportive resources, and we really want you to succeed, and I really want you to succeed. And here's the big thing: don't ever be afraid to ask a question or reach out for help on anything, and we'll try to do the best we can to help you be successful at the moment. And the sky is the limit. I think we used to have a slogan: "Start here, go far," or something like that, or "Start near, go far," something like. And that's so true. If it wasn't for the community college experience, it's I would never become a lawyer or a professor. And it was the community college that gave me the basic skills and the foundation for everything else I've done in my life. And I really am excited for you to recognize the value of it, because it's very inexpensive, and it will give you a very, very good bridge to going on to a four-year school, or a graduate school, or things like that down the road, or it'll just give you that wonderful foundation and knowledge that a two-year institution can give. Um, it's a great opportunity. My sister, who's a lot older than me, she's she's up there. She still takes classes out at Springfield Technical Community College, because she's a tax expert. Every so often, there's a new class that comes out about some new novel issue under the IRS rules, and they'll offer it at Springfield Technical Community College, and she'll take it. So be a lifelong learner. Enjoy your experience at the Mount. And again, give out my cell phone, which is my business number. You can email me. If it's an emergency or something like that, or just want a quick shout out, give me text. But just identify who you are when you're emailing. Either it's through the official email, or you're giving me a call and you're leaving a voicemail or whatever. Which class you're in and who you are, because it makes it a lot easier to figure out what might be the issue. And again, there's no such thing as a stupid question. Be happy and feel comfortable in the class, and try to treat it as an adventure in learning. Well, my dog's barking, so I think that's the cue for me to stop. Take care.